When the Kaltharian Empire transmitted their ultimatum demanding Earth's immediate and unconditional surrender, humanity's response left the entire galaxy speechless. Instead of the terrified compliance the aliens expected, Earth's leaders simply asked 4 words that would expose the most audacious military bluff in galactic history. From what army, exactly? March 15, 2157, Luna Station Orbital Command Admiral Rebecca Torres stood in the primary communications hub, staring at the massive holographic display that had materialized in the center of the chamber just 3 minutes ago. The image was both magnificent and terrifying. A towering figure in ornate crystalline armor, with 4 arms and skin that seemed to shift between deep purple and midnight black. Behind the alien, glimpses of what appeared to be a massive command bridge stretched into shadow. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. I am Supreme War Commander Sci-Fi of the Kaltharian Empire, the figure declared, its voice carrying an otherworldly resonance that seemed to vibrate through the station's hull. Your primitive species has 48 standard hours to broadcast your total surrender across all frequencies. Resistance will result in the complete annihilation of your world. Admiral Torres, a veteran of 3 colonial wars and Earth's first deep space conflicts, felt her jaw tighten. She'd faced down pirate fleets and hostile mining cartels, but this was different. The alien's presence radiated authority and power in a way that made her combat instincts scream warnings. Dr. Marcus Chun, the station's chief xenobiologist, whispered. Beside her, Rebecca, look at the detail resolution on that transmission. The computing power required to generate something this sophisticated over interstellar distances. He trailed off, his face pale. The hologram continued, gesturing with one of its 4 arms toward what appeared to be tactical displays. Your pathetic defenses have been analyzed and found insufficient. Your largest military vessels are no match for even our scout frigates. We have observed your species for 17 rotations, cataloging your weaknesses, studying your primitive technologies. Commander Liu Wei, Torres's tactical officer, leaned forward. Ma'am, we're not detecting any ships in our immediate sensor range. How are they transmitting with this clarity? Your weapons are chemical propulsion and crude energy projection, Dexhai sneered. We possess planetary siege engines, quantum disruptors, and fleet formations spanning solar systems. Compliance will allow your species to serve the Empire in labor capacity. Defiance means extinction. The transmission began cycling through what appeared to be weapon demonstrations, massive energy beams carving through asteroids, sleek alien ships moving at impossible speeds, formations of vessels so vast they blocked out stars. Each image was rendered with photorealistic precision. 48 hours, the alien repeated. Broadcast your surrender or face the might of 3,000 years of galactic conquest. We have claimed 734 worlds. Yours will be 735. The hologram flickered and vanished, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's Secretary of Planetary Defense, was the first to speak. Threat assessment, Admiral? Torres studied the data streams her officers were frantically compiling. Unknown, ma'am. We have no frame of reference for their technology level, those weapon demonstrations. She paused, reviewing the recordings. If genuine, they outclass anything in our arsenal by several orders of magnitude. What about their fleet positions? Rodriguez asked. That's what's bothering me, Commander Liu interjected. We're not picking up any large-scale formations on our deep space arrays. Either their stealth technology is beyond our comprehension, or what, Commander? Liu hesitated. Or they're transmitting from much farther away than should be possible with that signal clarity. Dr. Chun pulled up his analysis on the secondary display. I've been studying the transmission metadata. The quantum signatures are incredibly sophisticated. But there's something odd about the compression algorithms. It's almost like... He frowned, running the data through another filter. Like what, Doctor? Like they're putting enormous computational resources into making this transmission as impressive as possible. The resolution is actually beyond what would be necessary for clear communication. It's almost theatrical. Admiral Torres paced to the observation deck, looking out at Earth hanging in the void below. Cities glittered like jewels across the night side, completely unaware that their existence had just been threatened by something claiming to be a galactic empire. Her personal communicator chimed with an encrypted message from Earth's Global Defense Council. Emergency session in 2 hours. All department heads report to Geneva immediately. As Torres prepared to depart Luna Station, her chief communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, approached with a puzzled expression. Admiral, I've been running spectral analysis on that transmission source. What did you find? The signal originated from the outer edge of the Proxima Centauri system. But here's what's strange. The broadcast power. Requirements for that level of detail should have required the energy output of a small star. Yet our gravitational sensors aren't detecting any massive installations or fleet formations in that region. Torres stopped walking. Are you suggesting they have technology that can mask gravitational signatures from entire fleets? Either that, or... Lieutenant Kim looked uncomfortable. Or there's not as much mass there as we'd expect from a force capable of spanning solar systems. 2 hours later, in the underground Geneva command complex, Torres found herself sitting at a crescent-shaped table with Earth's top military leaders, scientists, and political officials. President Maria Santos presided over the emergency session, her expression grim. Ladies and gentlemen, Santos began, we've all seen the transmission. I want options, and I want them fast. Secretary Rodriguez? Elena Rodriguez stood, activating the central hologram. The Kaltharian ultimatum presents several troubling elements. Their claimed military superiority appears overwhelming based on the demonstrations provided. However, our intelligence gathering has revealed some inconsistencies. General Robert Jackson, head of Earth's combined military forces, leaned forward. What kind of inconsistencies? Dr. Chun has been analyzing the transmission for the past 4 hours. Doctor? Chun rose, clearly nervous to be addressing Earth's leadership. The alien communication shows signs of what I can only describe as performance optimization. The visual quality exceeds practical necessity, suggesting significant resources devoted to impression management rather than simple information transfer. President Santos frowned. Speak plainly, Doctor. Are you saying they're trying to intimidate us? I'm saying they're trying very hard to intimidate us, Madam President. Almost suspiciously hard. Admiral Torres added, our deep space sensor arrays, which can detect asteroid-sized objects out to 15 light-years, have found no evidence of the massive fleet formations shown in their demonstrations. Either their stealth capabilities are beyond our comprehension, or, Santos prompted. Torres met the president's eyes, or they don't have the forces they claim to have. The room erupted in nervous conversation until Santos called for order. Are you suggesting this could be an elaborate bluff? I'm suggesting we need more information before we surrender the entire planet, ma'am. Defense Secretary Michael Park spoke up. The consequences of guessing wrong are the extinction of human civilization. Can we afford to call what might be a bluff? Can we afford not to? Torres replied. If they possess the overwhelming force they claim, why give us 48 hours? Why not simply demonstrate their power by destroying our orbital installations or lunar colonies? Why negotiate with primitives if you have the power to simply take what you want? Dr. Chun nodded enthusiastically. Exactly, in every historical example of technologically superior civilizations encountering less advanced ones, There was immediate demonstration of power. The Spanish didn't send ultimatums to the Aztecs. They showed up with horses and gunpowder. General Jackson looked skeptical. But those weapon demonstrations could be computer-generated, Chun replied, or archival footage from other conflicts, or demonstrations of prototype weapons they possess in limited quantities. President Santos stood, her decision weighing heavily on her shoulders. Admiral Torres, I'm authorizing a probe mission. Take our fastest reconnaissance ship and investigate the Proxima Centauri system. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with before humanity makes any decisions about surrender. As the meeting adjourned, Torres couldn't shake the feeling that Earth was about to discover something that would change everything they thought they knew about galactic politics. The question that kept echoing in her mind was simple. If the Kaltharian Empire was as powerful as they claimed, why did their ultimatum feel more like a desperate gamble than a demonstration of strength? Within 18 hours, she would have her answer. And it would shock not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. March 16th, 2157 UESS Phantom Edge. Deep Space Captain Elena Vasquez gripped her command chair as the Phantom Edge dropped out of quantum slip just outside the Proxima Centauri system. As Earth's most advanced stealth reconnaissance vessel, the ship was designed for exactly this kind of mission, getting close to potential threats without being detected. Captain, her sensor officer, Lieutenant Commander Alex Park, called out, I'm running full spectrum scans of the system. So far, I'm not seeing anything that matches those massive fleet formations from the transmission. Vasquez frowned. Define not seeing anything, Commander. I mean, I'm detecting exactly 3 artificial objects in the entire system. 2 appear to be automated mining platforms around Proxima B, and 1. Park hesitated, recalibrating his instruments. 1 appears to be a single ship in high orbit around Proxima C. Dr. James Morrison, the mission's Xenotech specialist, looked up from his analysis station. A single ship? That can't be right. The transmission showed dozens of vessels. That's what I thought too, Park replied. But I've run the scans 6 times. Unless they have cloaking technology that can fool every type of sensor we possess simultaneously, there's just not much here. Vasquez activated the ship's quantum communicator. Phantom Edge to Luna Command. Admiral Torres, are you receiving? Torres's voice crackled through the subspace static. Copy, Phantom Edge. What's your status? Admiral, we've completed initial reconnaissance of Proxima Centauri, the massive Kaltharian fleet. Vasquez paused, still processing what she was seeing. It doesn't exist. A long silence followed before Torres responded. Repeat that, Captain. We're detecting minimal alien presence. 3 objects total. 2 mining platforms and what appears to be a single vessel. No massive formations, no siege engines, no planetary occupation force. Back on Luna Station, Admiral Torres felt her stomach drop. She was standing in the tactical center with Dr. Chun and Commander Liu, all 3 staring at the real-time data streaming from the Phantom Edge. Single vessel, Torres repeated slowly. Dr. Chun, what are the implications? Chun was frantically running calculations on his workstation. If the transmission originated from that one ship, then either they have computational capabilities far beyond what we estimated, or he looked up, his face pale, or they've been using every available resource to create the most convincing bluff in military history. Commander Liu enhanced the tactical display. Admiral, I've been cross-referencing the weapon demonstrations from yesterday's transmission with our database of known physics. Some of those energy signatures are problematic. Problematic how? They violate several fundamental laws of thermodynamics. The energy output shown would require matter-to-energy conversion rates that our physicists say are theoretically impossible with any known technology. Torres felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. Computer-generated demonstrations? That's my assessment. Very sophisticated ones, but not actual recordings of real weapons. Meanwhile, on the Phantom Edge, Captain Vasquez was receiving more troubling intelligence from her crew. "Captain," called Chief Petty Officer Singh from the communications station, "I've been monitoring electromagnetic emissions from that single alien vessel. They're broadcasting continuously, but not to any location within this system. Where are they transmitting to?" "Multiple star systems simultaneously. The same basic signal package, but with different addressing protocols. It's like..." Singh paused, trying to find the right analogy. "Like they're cold calling multiple targets at once." Dr. Morrison's analysis station chimed with an alert. "Captain, I've completed spectral analysis of the alien ship. Based on hull composition and energy signatures, I'd estimate it's roughly equivalent to one of our heavy cruisers. Certainly not the super dreadnought class implied by yesterday's transmission." Vasquez authorized a closer approach. As the Phantom Edge crept within long-range scanning distance, more details became clear. "The ship appears to be damaged," Park reported. "I'm reading hull breaches on the port side and what looks like jury-rigged repairs throughout their systems. Their reactor is running at barely 60% efficiency." "Damaged by what?" Vasquez asked. "Unknown, but it looks like combat damage. Old damage months, maybe years old." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot too. U.S. Now back to the story. Dr. Morrison was studying the alien vessel's configuration when something caught his attention. "Captain, look at this. The ship's design suggests it's built for long-range reconnaissance, not military conquest. It's essentially their version of what we're doing right now, intelligence gathering." Back on Earth, President Santos was receiving hourly updates in the Geneva Command Complex. The picture emerging from the Phantom Edge's reconnaissance was painting the Kaltharian Empire in a very different light. "So you're telling me," Santos said to the assembled leadership, "that this overwhelming galactic empire consists of one damaged scout ship?" "That's what the evidence suggests, Madam President." Admiral Torres replied via holographic link. "But we need to understand why they're making these threats and what they're really after." Secretary Rodriguez pulled up a tactical summary. "Our xenopsychology team has been analyzing the transmission. Dr. Sarah Kim believes the ultimatum shows signs of what she calls desperate overcompensation. Meaning? Meaning they need something from us, but they're in no position to take it by force. So they're hoping to frighten us into giving it voluntarily." General Jackson looked skeptical. "But what could a galactic empire possibly need from a primitive species like us?" Dr. Chun, still connected from Luna Station, offered a theory. "Maybe they're not a galactic empire. Maybe they're refugees." "That ship damaged," Captain Vasquez reported. "What if they're running from something?" The implications hung heavy in the air. If the Kaltharians were refugees rather than conquerors, it reframed everything about their ultimatum. President Santos made a decision. "I want a direct communication with this alien vessel. No surrender, no compliance, but no hostility either. We're going to ask them what they really want." "And if they maintain their threats?" Torres asked. Santos smiled grimly. "Then we're going to ask them to back up those threats with something more substantial than computer-generated fireworks." 20 minutes later, the Phantom Edge established a communication link with the alien vessel. Captain Vasquez appeared on their screens first, but within moments, the familiar four-armed figure of Supreme War Commander Thexai materialized in the Phantom Edge's communication bay. "Primitive humans," Thexai declared, his voice carrying the same imposing resonance as before. "You dare approach the might of the Kaltharian Empire. Your vessel will be destroyed as a warning to your pathetic species." Captain Vasquez, briefed on the developing intelligence picture, decided to test their theory directly. "Commander Vex High," she said calmly. "We've scanned this system thoroughly. We see your ship, and we acknowledge your impressive technological capabilities. But we're curious about something." The alien's forearms stiffened slightly. "Speak quickly before we demonstrate the futility of resistance." "We're wondering," Vasquez continued, "exactly which ships in your fleet will be carrying out this demonstration. Because our sensors are having trouble locating the rest of your armada." For the first time, Vex High hesitated. It was barely noticeable, but Dr. Morrison caught it, a micro-expression that suggested the alien was improvising rather than operating from a position of strength. "Our stealth capabilities are beyond your primitive understanding," Vex High replied, but his voice carried a slight tremor that hadn't been there before. "Of course," Vasquez said pleasantly. "Perhaps you could help our understanding by showing us just one of these cloaked vessels? A simple decloak demonstration would certainly convince Earth of your overwhelming superiority." The transmission fell silent for nearly 30 seconds, an eternity in diplomatic communications. When Vex High finally responded, his tone had shifted from imperious command to something that sounded almost pleading. "Your species will surrender within the allotted time frame, or face consequences beyond your imagination." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the Phantom Edge's crew staring at empty space where the hologram had been. "Captain," Dr. Morrison said quietly, "I don't think they can decloak any other ships." "No," Vasquez agreed. "I don't think they have any other ships to decloak." The question now was, who exactly were the Kaltharians, and what did they really want from Earth? March 17, 2157. Geneva Command Complex DR. Sarah Kim hadn't slept in 36 hours. As Earth's leading xenopsychologist, she had been tasked with something unprecedented, conducting a psychological profile of an entire alien civilization based on a single desperate transmission. "President Santos," she said, her voice hoarse as she addressed the Emergency Council, "I believe we've been approaching this situation completely wrong." Santos leaned forward. "Explain." "We've been treating the Kaltharian ultimatum as a military threat. But after analyzing their communication patterns, linguistic choices, and behavioral cues, I believe we're dealing with something else entirely." Kim activated the holographic display, showing a detailed breakdown of Vex High's transmissions. "Look at the language pattern evolution. In their first transmission, Vex High used 67 power assertion phrases and 32 superiority markers. But in the second transmission, after Captain Vasquez questioned their fleet position, those numbers dropped to 21 and 8 respectively." General Jackson frowned. "What does that indicate?" "Psychological deterioration under pressure. Someone maintaining a false position shows exactly this kind of linguistic breakdown when challenged with direct evidence." Meanwhile, aboard the Phantom Edge, Captain Vasquez was pursuing her own line of investigation. "Dr. Morrison, what's your assessment of their ship's technological capabilities?" Morrison pulled up his technical analysis. "It's fascinating, Captain. Their technology is definitely more advanced than ours, but not by the orders of magnitude their ultimatum suggested. I'd estimate there may be 50 to 70 years ahead of our current development. That's significant, but not civilization-ending." "Exactly. But here's what's really interesting. Their ship shows signs of technological regression." Vasquez looked puzzled. "Regression?" "Many of their systems appear to be jury-rigged with inferior components. It's like they once had better technology, but have been forced to make do with whatever they could scavenge or manufacture under suboptimal conditions." Lieutenant Commander Park called out from the sensor station. "Captain, I'm picking up something unusual. The alien ship is receiving a transmission from outside the system. Can you decode it?" "Partially. It's heavily encrypted, but I'm getting fragments. Captain, I think it's a warning." On the main display, broken pieces of the intercepted message appeared. Pursuit forces closing on position. Recommend immediate relocation. Empire search protocols activated in sector. Survival probability decreasing. Dr. Morrison stared at the fragments. Captain, these don't sound like communications from a galactic empire to their advanced scouts. No, Vasquez agreed grimly. They sound like communications between refugees. Back on Earth, the pieces were beginning to form a disturbing picture. Dr. Chun had been analyzing the technical specifications of the supposed Kaltharian superweapons, and his findings were revolutionizing their understanding of the situation. Admiral Torres, he reported via subspace link, I've been reverse engineering the physics behind their weapon demonstrations. The energy signatures are real, but they're not from the weapons they claimed. What do you mean? The energy readings match theoretical projections for a completely different type of technology emergency. Life support systems running at maximum capacity. Torres felt a chill. Life support? The kind you'd need to keep a large population alive in deep space. For extended periods. I think those impressive energy signatures weren't weapons at all. They were the power output from a desperately overloaded ship trying to sustain far more occupants than it was designed for. The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. Admiral Torres immediately contacted President Santos. Madam President, we need to reconsider our entire approach. The Kaltharians aren't invaders, they're refugees. In Geneva, the implications were sinking in rapidly. Secretary Rodriguez pulled up galactic survey data. If they're refugees, what are they running from? Dr. Kim had been analyzing this exact question. Based on the linguistic analysis and behavioral patterns, I believe they're fleeing something that represents an existential threat to their species. The desperation in their communications isn't the arrogance of conquerors, it's the panic of the hunted. President Santos made a decision that would change everything. Get me a direct line to this next high. No intermediaries, no military protocols. I want to speak to them as one leader to another. 30 minutes later, President Santos found herself face to face with the four-armed alien commander via quantum link. But this time, she approached the conversation with completely different assumptions. Commander Vex High, Santos began calmly, we know about your ship's condition. We know about the warning transmissions you've been receiving. We know you're alone out there. For the first time, the alien's imposing demeanor cracked. Vex High's skin shifted from deep purple to a pale, almost translucent shade. You know nothing of Kaltharian strength, Vex High replied, but the words carried no conviction. We know you're in trouble, Santos continued gently. The question is, do you want our help? Or do you want to keep pretending you're here to conquer? U.S.? The silence stretched for nearly a minute. When Vex High finally spoke, the change was dramatic. The artificial resonance was gone, replaced by what sounded almost human in its exhaustion. How? How did you determine the truth? Because we asked questions instead of just accepting your threats. Now why don't you tell us what you're really running from? Vex High's form seemed to shrink. The Devourers. They consumed our homeworld. 6 cycles ago, we are all that remains of the Kaltharian people. 47,000 survivors on a ship designed for 8,000. The weight of this revelation settled over the command center. An entire civilization reduced to a single overcrowded refugee ship. And the other ultimatums you've been sending? Santos asked. 17 worlds have rejected our requests for sanctuary. 3 opened fire immediately upon our arrival. We thought if we appeared strong, if we claimed to be conquerors rather than refugees. You thought someone might let you stay. Yes, Dr. Kim leaned forward. Commander, what exactly are these? Devourers? Vex High's skin darkened to nearly black. They are machines, ancient beyond measure. They strip worlds of all biological matter, converting it into more of themselves. They have been expanding across the galaxy for millennia, but their progression has accelerated. In the past 50 cycles, they have consumed over 200 inhabited systems. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. If the Devourers were real, and if they were following the Kaltharian refugees. "Commander," President Santos said carefully, "are they following you?" "Not specifically, but their expansion pattern suggests they will reach this sector within the next few cycles. We had hoped to find sanctuary and warn other species, but—" Vexhai's voice trailed off. "But no one would listen to refugees," Santos finished. "No one listens to the weak." President Santos looked around the command center at her advisors. In their faces, she saw the same realization dawning that she felt in her gut. Humanity wasn't facing a choice between surrender and resistance. They were facing a choice between helping desperate refugees or turning their backs on a potential ally against something far more dangerous than a single damaged ship. "Commander." "Vexhai," Santos said finally. "I think it's time we had a very different conversation." March 18th, 2157-347 hours. Deep space, early. Warning Station Cerberus Chief Warrant Officer Diana Walsh was 3 hours into her night shift when every alarm in the monitoring station began screaming simultaneously. 23 light years from Earth, the automated deep space sensors had detected something that made her blood freeze. "Command, this is Cerberus Station," she called frantically into her communicator. "We have multiple massive contacts dropping out of FTL in the Wolf 359 system. I'm reading. Jesus Christ, I'm reading over 200 objects." Admiral Torres's voice crackled through subspace from Luna Command. "Cerberus, confirm contact count and classification." Diana's hands shook as she recalibrated the sensors. "Admiral, confirm 237 contacts. Classification, unknown. But Admiral, they're each reading as approximately moon-sized. And they're not showing up on gravitational sensors. Impossible. Objects that large would create massive gravitational signatures." "That's just it, ma'am. They're registering on M and quantum sensors, but gravimetrically they're empty. It's like they exist but don't have mass." Meanwhile, aboard the Kaltharian refugee ship in the Proxima Centauri system, every alarm was also sounding. "Commander." Vexhai burst into the ship's command center to find his bridge crew in a state of controlled panic. "Report," he demanded. "Hi, Commander," his sensor operator replied, using Vexhai's real rank rather than the false title he'd been broadcasting to intimidate other species. "Devourer swarm detected. Wolf 359 system. They found us." The color drained from Vexhai's crystalline skin. "How many?" "Over 200 units. Ancestors preserve us," Vexhai whispered. "Signal the emergency council. Begin evacuation preparations immediately." "Hi, Commander, our engines are barely functional. Our jump drives need at least 18 hours to charge for another long-range translation. Then we have 18 hours to live." On Earth, President Santos was awakened by her security chief at 0400 hours. Within minutes, she was in the Geneva Command Complex, staring at tactical displays that showed humanity's worst nightmare materializing. "Madam President," Admiral Torres reported via quantum link, "the objects in Wolf 359 match the energy signatures the Kaltharians described for Devourer machines. They're not ships as we understand them. They appear to be some form of self-replicating industrial complex." Dr. Chun, hastily summoned from Luna Station, provided additional analysis. "The quantum resonance patterns suggest they're partially phased outside normal space-time. That's why they don't register gravitationally. Most of their mass exists in parallel dimensional space." General Jackson looked grim. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, approximately 72 hours, Torres replied. "But we're detecting strange energy buildups throughout the Wolf 359 system. They appear to be processing the star itself. Santos felt her stomach drop. Processing how? Converting stellar matter into more devourer units. If our projections are correct, by the time they leave Wolf 359, there will be over 1,000 of them. The quantum communicator chimed with an incoming priority transmission. Commander Thexai's image appeared, but the proud alien leader of yesterday was gone, replaced by someone who looked utterly defeated. President Santos, Thexai said without preamble, the Devourers have found us. We must flee immediately. What about Earth? Santos asked. If we leave now, they may follow us and ignore your world. It is your only chance. Dr. Morrison, still aboard the Phantom Edge, had been studying the Devourer formations through long-range sensors. President Santos, I'm observing their behavior patterns. They're not randomly destructive, they're methodical. They're stripping the Wolf 359 system of all useful matter and energy before moving on. How long do they spend in each system? Santos asked. Based on the data Commander Thexai provided about their homeworld, approximately 6 to 8 days for complete consumption. The implications were staggering. Santos turned to her military advisors. Options? General Jackson spoke first. Evacuation is impossible. We couldn't move even a fraction of Earth's population in 72 hours. Fleet engagement against moon-sized targets is, he paused, suicide. What about the Kaltharian technology? Secretary Rodriguez suggested. Could they help us fight? Thexai answered over the communicator. Our technology is insufficient. We have tried to fight them. Entire fleets, planetary defense systems, stellar engineering projects, nothing stops them. They adapt to each attack and become stronger. Dr. Kim, who had been analyzing the psychological profiles, spoke up. There's something I don't understand. Commander, how many times have your people encountered the Devourers? This is the 4th system where they have pursued us. And each time, you've fled rather than fight. Thexai's forearms stiffened. Resistance is futile. We learned this when they consumed our homeworld. But did you ever try coordinating with other species? Multiple civilizations working together? Other species flee or attack us as refugees. None have offered alliance. Santos felt a plan forming. Commander, what if someone did offer alliance? What if instead of running again, we fought together? President Santos, Thexai said desperately, you do not understand. Our homeworld had planetary shields, fusion-powered defense arrays, fleets of 10,000 vessels. The Devourers consumed everything in 4 days. But you said they adapt to each attack and become stronger. What if they've never faced a combined strategy from multiple species with completely different technological approaches? Admiral Torres caught on immediately. Human kinetic weapons, Kaltharian energy systems, and Earth's manufacturing base. They've never encountered our specific combination. It will not work, Thexai insisted. They cannot be stopped. Maybe, Santos replied, but they've never faced humans before. Dr. Chun added, Commander, our analysis suggests the Devourers optimize against known threats. But what happens when they encounter technologies and tactics they've never seen? You would all die. We might die anyway, Santos said. The question is, do we die running or do we die fighting? For a long moment, the communication was silent. Finally, Thexai spoke, his voice barely a whisper. You would stand with us? Even after we threatened your world with lies? You were desperate and trying to save your people. We understand desperation. Another long pause. What do you propose? Santos looked around at her advisors, seeing determination replacing fear in their faces. We have 72 hours to create the first interspecies military alliance in galactic history. And we're going to use it to teach some ancient machines what happens when they threaten Earth. This is madness, Thexai said. No, Santos replied with a grim smile. This is humanity. The next transmission from the Kaltharian ship carried a message that would echo across the galaxy. The Kaltharian refugee fleet formally requests military alliance with the human species. We stand together or we fall together. As alarms continued to sound across both worlds, two civilizations that had nearly been enemies began preparing for a battle that would determine not just their survival, but the future of the galaxy. The Devourers were coming. But for the first time in their ancient expansion, they would face something they had never encountered: unified resistance from species who chose cooperation over conquest. 72 hours to save everything. The countdown had begun. March 20th, 2157-1200 hours. Combined fleet position. Asteroid Belt. Admiral Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge of the hastily retrofitted battleship USS Defiance, watching the most unlikely armada in galactic history take formation around her. In 72 hours, humanity had achieved something that typically took decades: complete integration of alien technology with human military doctrine. Admiral Commander Liu reported, "All ships report ready. Human fleet, 47 vessels. Kaltharian fleet, 1 refugee ship carrying 47,000 civilians and every combat-capable pilot they have." The odds were staggering. Nearly 1,000 Devourer machines against a combined fleet that wouldn't even register as a minor threat in conventional warfare. But Admiral Torres had spent the last 3 days learning something crucial. Conventional warfare was exactly what the Devourers expected. "Signal Commander Vex High," Torres ordered. "Execute Plan Chaos." Aboard the Kaltharian vessel, now redesignated as the Alliance command ship, Vex High felt something he hadn't experienced since his world fell: hope. The humans had done something extraordinary in 3 days. They had completely rebuilt their understanding of combat doctrine based on a simple premise: if the Devourers adapt to every tactic they encounter, Dr. Chun had argued during the frantic planning sessions, then we need to use tactics so unprecedented that their adaptation protocols can't process them fast enough. Human tactical doctrine. "Engaging," Vex High announced to his crew. "All units, execute random pattern bombardment." The human contribution to the Alliance wasn't advanced weapons, it was advanced chaos theory. Captain Elena Vasquez, commanding her squadron of modified fighter craft, watched her tactical display with grim satisfaction. Each human ship was following completely randomized attack patterns generated by quantum computers. No formation flying, no coordinated strikes, no predictable target priorities. "Phantom Squadron, this is lead," she broadcast. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy them, we're trying to confuse them long enough for the Kaltharians to hit their weak points." The Devourer swarm had grown to 1,247 units after consuming Wolf 359. They moved in perfect geometric formations, their machine intelligence optimized for efficiency and adaptation. They had faced every conceivable military tactic across thousands of worlds. They had never faced weaponized randomness. "Contact in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Commander Park from the sensor station. "Devourer units are assuming standard defensive formation pattern Omega-7. "Perfect," Admiral Torres smiled grimly. "That's exactly what we want them to do. All ships, initiate pattern pandemonium." What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries. The human fleet attacked using every wrong tactic. In the handbook, ships broke formation mid-flight. Weapons targeted empty space. Some vessels retreated while others advanced. Several ships actually started firing on asteroids instead of DEVOURERS. To any conventional military observer, it looked like complete chaos. To the Devourer adaptive intelligence, it was incomprehensible. "Kaltharian strike teams, you have your window," Torres announced, while the Devourer's adaptive systems frantically tried to analyze the random human assault patterns. Kaltharian ships, their energy weapons precisely calibrated to exploit the brief moments of confusion struck with surgical precision at the machine's dimensional anchor points. Direct hit on Devourer Cluster 7, Vexhai reported. Their phase shift capabilities are disrupted. They're locked in normal space. Human kinetic bombardment. Focus fire on Cluster 7, Torres ordered. Earth's crude but effective railgun projectiles, traveling at significant fractions of light speed, slammed into the now vulnerable Devourer machines. Ancient armor that had withstood stellar engineering weapons cracked under the simple, brutal force of accelerated metal. Confirmed kill on 17 Devourer units, reported Captain Morrison from his deep strike cruiser. They're attempting to adapt to our kinetic weapons. Let them, Torres replied. All units switched to pattern nonsense. The human fleet immediately began using their backup weapons, mining lasers, construction equipment, even emergency flares, anything the Devourers hadn't encountered before. Meanwhile, the Kaltharians exploited each moment of computational delay to disable more machines, but the Devourers were learning. Admiral, Commander Liu called out urgently. The enemy is adapting faster than projected. They're beginning to counter our randomization protocols. Torres had expected this. Dr. Chun, initiate Protocol Impossible. Protocol Impossible was humanity's final gambit. Dr. Chun had discovered that the Devourers' adaptation systems had one critical flaw. They assumed their opponents were rational. Every human ship suddenly began broadcasting surrender signals while simultaneously launching suicide attacks. They transmitted distress calls while firing every weapon they had. Some ships actually ejected their escape pods toward the Devourers, while other pods contained armed nuclear warheads. The Devourer collective intelligence, encountering behavior patterns that violated every logical military doctrine, experienced something unprecedented: uncertainty. Kaltharian forces, they're vulnerable now, Torres announced. Hit everything you can. Vexhai led the final assault personally. His pilot skills, honed by years of desperate escapes, now turned toward desperate attack. Kaltharian energy weapons, freed from the need to penetrate adaptive defenses, carved through Devourer formations like plasma through vacuum. Human fleet, concentrate fire on their command units, Torres ordered. We've got one chance to break their coordination. The combined assault lasted 18 minutes. When the quantum disruption finally faded, nearly 400 Devourer machines had been destroyed, with the remainder retreating to regroup. Admiral, Park reported in amazement, the surviving Devourers are leaving. They're jumping to FTL. Where are they going? Unknown. But their departure vector takes them away from inhabited systems. Commander Vexhai's voice came over the communication link, his tone filled with something approaching awe. Admiral Torres, in 3,000 years of galactic history, no one has ever forced a Devourer retreat. We didn't force anything, Torres replied. We just asked them a question they couldn't answer. What question? The same one we asked you. From what army? Turns out, when you can't predict your enemy's behavior, you can't adapt to it. Dr. Chun, monitoring the aftermath from Luna Station, provided the scientific assessment. The Devourers' adaptive algorithms are designed to counter logical military responses. But humans aren't always logical. We're creative, chaotic, and occasionally completely irrational. Their programming couldn't process that. The victory celebration was brief. Earth had been saved, but the war was far from over. The retreating Devourers would adapt again, and next time they would be prepared for human unpredictability. But something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. Commander Vexhai, President Santos said during the post-battle conference, your people are welcome to stay in our system as long as needed. But I have a proposal. What kind of proposal? You said 17 worlds rejected your requests. For sanctuary, what if we visited them together? Not as refugees asking for help, but as the alliance that just accomplished the impossible. Vex-High's crystalline skin shifted to a warm golden hue, the Kaltharian expression of hope. You would help us build a coalition? We would help each other build something the galaxy has never seen, Santos replied. A defense network based on cooperation instead of conquest. As the combined fleets began the journey back to Earth, both species knew they had done more than win a battle. They had proven that the impossible became possible when civilizations chose trust over fear, cooperation over domination. The Devourers would return eventually. But when they did, they would face not two isolated species, but the beginning of something that would reshape the galaxy. Unity born from the simple human habit of asking the right questions at the right time, starting with 4 words that had changed everything. From what army, exactly? 6 months later, Kepler Station. Joint Human Kaltharian Deep Space Facility Admiral Rebecca Torres stood before a holographic conference table that would have been impossible to imagine a year ago. Representatives from 23 different species filled the virtual space beings of crystal, energy, organic matter, and combinations thereof that defied classification. The Regellian Consortium has agreed to join the Cooperative Defense Network, reported Ambassador Kaltharian, a silver-skinned being whose species had initially refused Kaltharian refugees. They're contributing their shield technology and 300 defensive platforms. Dr. Sarah Kim, now serving as Earth's Director of Interspecies Relations, smiled at the irony. 6 months ago, they told Commander Vex-High's people to find somewhere else to die. Now they want to be part of our alliance. Victory, observed Commander Vex-High from his position as the alliance's strategic coordinator, has a way of making previous impossibilities seem obvious in retrospect. The transformation had been remarkable. What started as humanity's refusal to surrender to empty threats had evolved into the galaxy's first truly cooperative defense network. But more importantly, it had fundamentally changed how civilizations interacted. Status report on the Devourer situation? Torres asked. Captain Elena Vasquez, now commanding the Alliance's Rapid Response Fleet, provided the update. Long-range sensors detected a Devourer probe at the edge of the Centauri sector. It observed our patrol formations for approximately 6 hours, then retreated without engaging. They're learning to avoid us, Vex-High noted with satisfaction. For the first time in recorded history, the Devourers are changing their expansion patterns to avoid contact with organized resistance. The real victory wasn't military, it was philosophical. The galaxy had operated on the principle that advanced civilizations protected primitive ones in exchange for servitude. The Human Kaltharian Alliance had proven a different model, equals. Working together were stronger than masters commanding servants. President Santos appeared via hologram from Earth. I have news from the Outer Rim territories. The hegemony has formally dissolved. The announcement sent ripples through the conference. The hegemony had been the galaxy's oldest protection empire, a confederation of advanced species that had dominated smaller civilizations for over a millennium. Their client species are declaring independence, Dr. Kim asked. More than that, Santos replied. They're demanding the same cooperative relationships we've established. The hegemony's ruling council has decided it's easier to adapt than to fight 27 simultaneous rebellions. Admiral Torres nodded approvingly. The ripple effect continues. It had started with a simple question, from what army? But questioning the basis of authority had spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Species that had accepted protection for centuries were suddenly asking what they were really being protected from and whether they needed protection at all. The most interesting development, added Dr. Chun via link from the Lunar Research Station, is how rapidly collaborative technology is advancing. When species share knowledge freely instead of hoarding it, innovation accelerates exponentially. The proof was all around them. Kepler Station itself was a marvel of integrated technology, human engineering, Kaltharian energy systems, Rigelian defensive shields, and contributions from a dozen other civilizations. No single species could have built it, but together they had created something unprecedented. Any word from the old protector empires? Torres asked. Vex High's crystalline skin shifted to an amused pale blue. Most have formally requested to join the cooperative network. It seems they prefer being part of an alliance to being overthrown by their former clients. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The galaxy's former rulers were asking to join a network founded by refugees and a species that had been considered primitive just months ago. There is one more development to report, Commander Vex High announced. The Kaltharian Engineering Corps has completed their analysis of captured Devourer technology. And the machines are not as ancient as we believed. Our analysis suggests they were created approximately 1,000 years ago by a species attempting to build the perfect conquering force. The creators lost control of their creations and were consumed first. Dr. Kim felt a chill. Someone built them? Yes, which means someone else could build more. But it also means they have specific programming limitations. They were designed to counter known military doctrines, but not to handle. Vex High paused, searching for the right term. Weaponized stubbornness? Admiral Torres suggested with a smile. Precisely. As the conference ended, Torres reflected on how much had changed. A year ago, humanity had been an isolated species taking its first tentative steps into the galaxy. Now they were helping to reshape galactic civilization itself. The transformation hadn't come from superior technology or military might. It had come from a uniquely human trait, the refusal to accept that things had to be the way they'd always been. Other species had faced the devourers and either fled or died. Humans had asked, why can't we fight them? Other species had accepted protection from more advanced civilizations. Humans had asked, what's the real cost? Other species had assumed galactic empires were inevitable. Humans had asked, what if they're not? Admiral, Captain Vasquez called out as Torres prepared to leave. We've received a transmission from the outer galaxy. Another species requesting alliance membership. They're fleeing something called the Harvesters. Torres smiled. A year ago, that message would have terrified her. Now it sounded like an opportunity. Signal them back, she ordered. Tell them they're welcome to join the alliance. But also tell them to prepare for a very different conversation than they're expecting. Ma'am? We're going to ask them what these harvesters are really capable of, Torres explained. And then we're going to figure out how to ask them the right questions. As Torres walked through Kepler Station's corridors, passing human engineers working alongside alien technicians, she knew that humanity had given the galaxy something more valuable than military victory. They had given it the courage to question everything. Starting with 4 simple words that had changed the course of galactic history. From what army, exactly? Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.